It's now time to integrate the API for our user model. So the user model is going to be able to create a user, which is register a user, or log in the user. Those are the two things that we're really going to be doing. And when I say log in the user, it's not actually creating a session for the user, but instead it's going to return a token, which is something we'll have to add in later. But for now, what we're going to do is first off create that user model, or rather create any user for that matter. So since we've already done some login and register views, we've created these things. We also did a logout view. We created these things for our standard Django project, but now what we want to do is create it for our API. So let's go ahead and make an API folder or an API module, call it API. This is going to be the exact same as we've already seen. Make an init file, and then we are going to make a serializers file. So serializers is the first thing. So serializers.py, and I'm going to copy the comments serializers. It actually doesn't matter which serializers we copy, but I just want to have a lot of the default stuff already imported, so comments is a good one for that. We paste this in, and I'm actually going to delete all of the comment serializer classes because we actually don't even want them as reference now. We also don't need the comment model. All we really need is the user model. So these are the things that I'm going to be building off of from the start, right? We want to create, first of all, our user create model, right? So the actual user create serializer is the first thing that we're going to go off of. And I'll just say class, and it's going to be user create serializer. And of course it is a model serializer. Class meta, model equals to user. And then we'll say fields equals to, well, these are the fields that we want to have inside of the create function or the create serializer. You could use all of the fields in the user model, but I'm just going to go off of username, password, and email. So those are the fields that I'm working off of. Again, the user model by default has first name and last name and all that, but that's not something I really need to cover in this case. Okay, so we've got this. Let's actually go ahead and wrap this in to a view for it. So we'll create a new view file, views.py, so API views, of course. And again, I'm going to copy the comments API views and paste these in and delete pretty much all of the other comments all the way up to this create view API. That's the one we're going to want to change. And then the imports for serializers, we're going to want to use the user create serializer instead of all these other ones. And this is going to be, instead of comment create, it's user create. And then from accounts, or excuse me, not from accounts.models, we're going to get rid of this. We want to get the user account from django.contrib.auth. So this is the method that we have to use for this. This gets the user model, whether it's a custom model or not. This gets the default user model, as you probably already know. And come back in here. We're going to use, we might use that user model, we might not. So right off the bat, we want to use serializer class, and that's going to be user create serializer. The query set equals to user.objects.all. Cool. So now that we've got this, let's go ahead and wrap it into our URL. So urls.py. And again, we're going to copy the URLs from create, paste these in. Grab the view that we're going to be using, so from .views, import that. And in here, I'm just going to say register. I'm going to call it register. So instead of create, it's register. It technically is still a create view, but from a user standpoint or API standpoint, register makes more sense than create. Usually that's what it's called. It's not called create a user, it's called register a user. Okay, cool. So now that we've got this, let's go ahead and wrap these URLs into our main project's URLs. And go into blog, URLs, and then I'm going to go ahead and copy any of these comments, and then we will change them all to users, and then accounts, in this case, is accounts, because that's the app, and we'll say users -API as the namespace. Instead of account, that's kind of up to you, but I think users is a little bit more robust, because that's what it is. It's for the users. Okay, so now that we've got that, let's go ahead and take a look at it. So we go to users, register, and we see the different things. So we got username, password, email address. So I can try all the different stuff here. So I can put a username, some random password. Notice it's showing the password too, and then an email, and then we hit post, and it's giving us back the raw password. And in fact, it probably isn't even creating this user correctly. So let's actually try this out by logging in this user. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, go into an incognito window. So I'm basically starting a blank session here. And this is just a private window. It starts a blank session. So we're going to register it, or log in, that is, with this new user. So I'm going to copy the username, and we're going to go into the login, copy the password, go into there, hit login. This user does not exist. Right, so it seems like it created it, but it's saying that the user doesn't exist. So let's go ahead and take a look at the admin by copying and pasting that. Go into the admin, look at users, and this user actually is here, but the password is invalid, right? So we definitely have some errors here as far as how this is going. And this is saying user does not exist as a validation error because it tried to check the password or whatever. Something with the validation that we actually set up is just saying that this doesn't exist. That's not the actual error. The actual error is the password is an invalid format. So we have to update our user create serializer. So this is the important part here. And there's another thing that I absolutely want to do is have another field in here that's actually coming through. Now the first thing is the password. We want that to be a write-only field. That is the opposite of read-only, right? So all I can do is write to it. So to do this, we'll do extra keyword args equals to, and then a dictionary of password, and then we'll come in here and put password as being another dictionary of write-only, and we'll set that to true. Save that and go back into our API. Send it again. We're going to change this ever so slightly. Hit post. And now notice the password is actually taken away from the actual created model. Perfect. So that's what we want to see. All right. So in the next one, we're actually going to do the validation for all of this stuff, as well as setting up the user itself. So actually creating that user model instead of doing what it just did, which it actually didn't even set the password. All right, so we'll see you in the next one.